From Resident Evil Requiem to Tides of Tomorrow and High on Life 2, 2026 has delivered some bangers already. But just look at all of the great games we've still got lined up for this year. Speaking of which, this video is brought to you by Marathon. Somehow, Playground Games have got two very different, very massive, very exciting open world games on the way this year, both of which will be coming day one to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. On May 19th, Forza Horizon 6 will be tearing it up over in Japan. We recently got a look at some of the biomes the new game is boasting, from stunning mountains and peaceful villages to snowy hills and great slaloming superhighways. With over 550 real-life cars to drive all over them, including the fan-favorite JDM classics, it looks like the ultimate road trip. Later in the year, Fable is getting rebooted in equally spectacular style. A huge, new, totally open world, hundreds of handcrafted NPCs, a clever new location-based reputation system, and all the chickens you can kick. It's a whole new era of Fable, and we can't wait. While we're dropping F-bombs, let's talk about 007 First Light, which is set to arrive on May 27th. The first fully new James Bond game in over a decade, First Light will tell a brand new story set while Bond is still earning his license to kill. I actually almost got my license last year, just missed a couple of questions in the theory part. This close. While this is a third-person stealth action game from IO Interactive, don't expect Hitman with an English accent. The game has been built to be as propulsive and action-packed as a Bond film, with combat mechanics that encourage players to press forward and close the gap on their enemies. All the while looking dashingly handsome, of course. Now that we've got all those important F words out of the way, let's go through the rest in alphabetical order. All nice and tidy like. Aphelion is a third-person adventure set on the frozen planet of Persephone. Staying alive here involves a whole lot of extremely cinematic platforming, as you go scrambling up cliff sides and balance beaming your way across some absolutely stomach-churning drops. Naturally, it turns out you aren't entirely alone out there in the snow, so you can expect to have your stealth skills put to the test too. Creepy. One day, a game is going to send me to a nice warm planet full of aliens that just want to give me a hug. One day. Until then, Aphelion is set to arrive this spring, and it'll be a day one Xbox Game Pass Ultimate release. Next up in day one Game Pass releases, we've got Armatus, the hellishly stylish actioner that combines roguelite mechanics, third-person shooting, and Paris! The city of love is now the city of scary demons, and it's up to you to sort things out. You'll head out on each run armed with your chosen firearm and your trusty scythe, picking up all sorts of celestial boons along the way to alter your build. As a roguelite, the idea that you're going to die a lot is baked into the game, which frees you up to get experimental until you've figured out the loadout that works for you. And then you'll really start to have fun. Have you ever tried to take something off one of your siblings that they did not want to give you? Now, imagine how much more difficult it would be if, rather than like a chocolate donut or a prize scrunchie, the thing you were trying to take is a magical sword that has welded itself to their very being. That's what you're up against in At Fate's End. From the developers of Spiritfarer, this 2D adventure is just as visually arresting as that lovely game, and it's also just as emotionally intelligent. Because while you will be taking on your 6 siblings in epic magic sword duels, you'll do so while navigating a clever dialogue system that turns each fight into a deep, meaningful conversation, while still being a badass magic sword duel. We don't know the specific date yet, but what we do know is that At Fate's End will be coming straight to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. One of my most deeply held beliefs is that there's no limit to what a motivated young woman and her apocalyptically powerful dog can accomplish. And Beast of Reincarnation just proves it. Game Freak's epic new fantasy adventure sends players on a quest to rescue a blighted world. Doing so involves a whole lot of scrapping, with combat that combines fast-paced katana combos with tactical canine commands. It makes for a blend of turn-based and real-time that's sort of like Clair Obscur in reverse, and demands the same blend of strategic thinking and split-second parrying. And just like Clair Obscur, Beast of Reincarnation will be coming straight to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate when it arrives on August 4th. Castlevania will be getting back to its roots in 2026 with a brand new 2D Metroidvania called Belmont's Curse. Wait, is it still a Metroidvania if it's literally a Castlevania game? Is this another is water wet thing? What we can say is that Belmont's Curse will take place in 15th century Paris, where Trevor Belmont's successor will be whipping all sorts of vampire ass. It's being made by Dead Cells developers Evil Empire, who have already shown they know their way around a creepy castle in that game's Return to Castlevania DLC. So it seems safe to say that the Belmont family business is in good hands. Control Resonant, otherwise known as Control 2, a mysterious cosmic entity takes Manhattan, is a sequel to Remedy's mind-bending third-person adventure. This time around, you'll be playing as Jesse Faden's brother, Dylan, as he tries to find his sister and also to do something about the otherworldly forces that have run amok downtown. His shape-shifting big-hitting weapon known as the Aberrant should help with that second part. A more open-ended, melee-focused experience than the original game, this looks like the ideal sort of sequel, mixing things up while retaining the eerie charms and cool world building that made the first Control so special. Arriving on the 19th of March, Crimson Desert is the single-player spin-off from Black Desert Online, although that description really doesn't do it justice. Set in an open world that's twice as big as Skyrim's, Crimson Desert is a full-blown AAA fantasy adventure of its own, complete with a dynamic physics-based combat system, massive boss fights, tons of weapons and abilities, deep crafting mechanics, an awesome range of traversal options, and so many side quests that completing the main campaign is just scratching the surface of what the game has to offer. So yeah, kind of a big deal, and it'll be out on March 19th. In February, Team Ninja confirmed that a brand new Dead or Alive game is in the works, which is brilliant news for the long term. But what if I need to Sonic spin kick someone right now? Well, that's where Dead or Alive 6 Last Round comes in. Arriving on June 25th, this is the definitive version of the most recent entry in the iconic 3D fighter series. Last Round boasts a roster of 29 questionably attired characters, 5 of whom were originally released as DLC, and also includes an in-depth photo mode that lets players put together all kinds of cool shots. To sweeten the deal, a free-to-play version of Dead or Alive 6 Last Round will launch at the very same time, giving newcomers to the series a limited roster to play with while they decide whether this is the fighting game for them. The short way to describe Denshattack would be as a skateboarding game where instead of an actual skateboard, you're driving a train. But that wouldn't really give you a full sense of the cel-shaded, punk-powered, near-future dystopian crime boss battling madness of the whole thing. Like any skater game, it has players racking up high scores by grinding rails and stringing tricks together as smoothly as possible. Along the way, they'll encounter bizarre bosses and zany set pieces, which include, but are not limited to, using their train to roll a detached Ferris wheel into the mouth of an active volcano. It's that sort of game. There's a real Jet Set Radio vibe to the whole thing, and even if you're too young to know what that means, Denshattack looks like such ridiculous fun that you should keep it on your radar anyway. Directive 8020 looks like a spine-tingling new entry into the Dark Pictures series, and we just recently learned that it will be released on May 12th. The setup for this one looks like a cross between Alien and The Thing, as a spaceship crew find themselves trapped on a hostile planet with a shape-shifting alien. And this foe won't wait politely for key moments or quick-time events to hunt the player down, oh no. It will be an active threat during the free roaming sections, which promises to ratchet the tension up even further. Thankfully, the new turning point system lets players hop back into any previous moment in the story to make amends for unfortunate decisions they might have made with no save scumming required. But if you and a buddy are a bloodthirsty bunch, then don't worry. There's also a survival mode where you and your characters have to live and die by the choices you make. Mostly die, I'm betting. On November 19th, we'll get to play the first new Grand Theft Auto game since 2013. Maybe I shouldn't even say anything more. Maybe we should just sit here and quietly watch the trailer together. Try to appreciate the moment. Okay, I'll say just a few more things, just for the heck of it. Grand Theft Auto 6 will give players a massive new open world to play in, located in the very Florida-y state of Leonida. And yes, that means we're going back to Vice City, baby! This time around, we'll be playing as a criminal couple named Jason and Lucia, and getting to hang out with veteran bank robbers, record label owners, struggling rappers, and all sorts of other colourful characters. On April 30th, Invincible is getting its own tag team fighting game, complete with all the voice actors and the grisly violence from the animated series. Invincible Versus will have players duking it out in teams of 3, tagging in and out to deliver devastating combos and clever counters. The roster is packed with fan favourite characters like Monster Girl and Omni-Man, and it will also introduce a brand new soup to the mix called Elemental. Which, I mean, that's just top quality pun work right there. That's good. That's the good stuff right there. Life is Strange Reunion features 2 playable protagonists for the first time in the series' history, and they're both familiar faces. One of our faves from the original game, Chloe Price, is back and plagued by visions of a life she didn't live and a death she didn't die. She asks her old pal Max Caulfield, the hero of Life is Strange Double Exposure, to help out, although Max is also honestly dealing with their own stuff right now, having just time traveled away from a deadly inferno that consumes their entire university. So there's just a lot going on. Between Max's time rewinding and Chloe's silver tongue, players might just be able to save the day when Life is Strange Reunion arrives on March 26th. Just don't be surprised if there's some heartbreak along the way. Don't say I didn't warn you. We are sprinting towards the March 5th release date of Bungie's new extraction shooter, Marathon, which is good because I'm really looking forward to digging into this one. This PvPvE first-person shooter puts players in control of cybernetically enhanced runners and has them duke it out across a decimated planet. Your goal is basically to drop down in your 3-person team, swipe all the valuables you can get your hands on, and then make it out alive so you can invest that precious loot in some handy upgrades. Or, if you want to make things really interesting, you can sneak into an in-progress match playing as a Rook, a solo character who has no affiliations and no problem causing complete chaos for all the other teams. On August 27th, the second volume of Metal Gear Solid's Master Collection will sneak its way onto Xbox, meaning you'll now be able to play every mainline entry in the OG Stealth Action series. Speaking of OGs, Volume 2 includes Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots, which sees the quite insensitively codenamed Old Snake heading off on one last mission to take down his nemesis. This marks the Xbox debut of the incredibly acclaimed 4th game, and that would be enough reason to check out the new collection by itself. But you also get access to Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, which sends a much less Old Snake to 70s Costa Rica to do some sneaking over there. On March 13th, we've got a brand new entry in Monster Hunter's more monster-friendly spin-off series, Monster Hunter Stories 3: Twisted Reflection. Rather than hacking them to bits with comically oversized melee weapons, this gorgeous anime-styled game has you raising up monsties of your own and fighting alongside them in turn-based battles. Forge an unbreakable bond with your beloved monsters, and then go off and save the world using the power of friendship. And also the power of ginormous monster teeth. And if that sounds like your sort of thing, there's a free demo available for Monster Hunter Stories 3: Twisted Reflection right now. A first-person shooter with classic Doom-style combat and a hard-boiled detective tale set in a world of anthropomorphic animals styled like a 1930s cartoon? Sure, I guess I could go for another one of those. Releasing on April 16th, Mouse PI for Hire features 20 noir-infused levels that range from movie studios to sewers, and the weaponry on display ranges from classic gangster movie stuff to wacky cartoon stuff like brains in jars and cans of spinach. Plus, it lets you shoot evil cartoon cats to the sound of an original jazz score, recorded by a big band orchestra, which has always been one of my dreams. Big band orchestra. I can't play an instrument. If you've had a sword fighting itch that you haven't quite been able to scratch since Sekiro, Onimusha Way of the Sword might be the game for you. Also, stop scratching. It'll leave a mark. This third-person actioner takes players to a dark fantasy version of 1500s Japan, where they'll be locking swords with demons and deadly samurai. Button bashing won't get you anywhere here, with battles that require deft movement and precise timing to outmaneuver your enemies. And when you get it right, the rewards are so silky and cinematic that you'll start to wonder if maybe you were a legendary samurai warrior in a previous life. That's not the only eye-bleedingly stylish action game that Capcom has in store for us this year. Pragmata will also be jetpacking into town on April 24th. This sci-fi adventure stars a marooned spacefarer and his small android friend as they try to survive on an abandoned research base governed by an evil AI. You'll control both of them at the same time, hacking into android enemies with one while the other dodges around like a jet-powered Muhammad Ali. It's a really innovative, two-pronged approach to combat that forces you to play a bit differently to conventional action games. Try it out yourself by downloading Pragmata's free sketchbook demo, available now. And while we're on the subject, what's the most creative combat system you've ever seen? Hit the comments with the ones that really blew your mind. Replaced is a side-scrolling action platformer that blends ass-kicking combat with a tale of artificial intelligence and lost humanity that's sure to punch you right in the gut. Set in a neon-drenched dystopia, it has you playing as an AI that has been transferred into the body of its creator. As you navigate a world of brutal megacorps and cannibal gangsters, you'll need to fight for your life, dodging blows and delivering devastating counters to take down your enemies in style. But Replaced quiet moments are every bit as impactful, with a rich supply of side missions for players who want to fully immerse themselves in its gorgeous, tragic world. And however you want to experience it, Replaced will be a day one addition to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Other than the fact that it's a third-person adventure with a historical fantasy setting and a bit of European flair, Resonant, A Plague Tale Legacy, is a completely different beast from the other games in the series, and that's incredibly exciting. Coming day one to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate sometime this year, Resonant stars a smuggler named Sophia, who's a lot more battle-ready than previous Plague Tale protagonists, so expect a much more combat-oriented experience here. We'll also be hopping between two time periods this time around, as Sophia bounces between the Middle Ages and the ancient Minoan era to try and get to the bottom of this whole macula business. Oh, and the game also takes place on the Minotaur's Island, so expect a big horn fella to come into play at some point. Now this is pod racing. Star Wars Galactic Racer lets players tear it up in pod racers, speeder bikes, and all sorts of famous Star Wars vehicles that make cool sci-fi noises. And since it's set in the New Republic era, they'll also get to hang out with characters like Sebulba and the noble Ben Quadaneros, who I've always felt is the true hero of the franchise. With tracks set on Tatooine, Hoth, Endor, and a host of other iconic planets, Star Wars Galactic Racer will offer players a full tour of the galaxy far, far away, with the option to duke it out in multiplayer or delve into a story-driven campaign. Coming day one to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, Subnautica 2 will be taking players to an all-new alien world, which turns out to be just as wet and dangerous as the first one. There are stunning new biomes to immerse yourself in, and all sorts of useful things to craft from the stuff you find in them, as well as a rich supply of new life forms to learn about. Learn quickly though, some of them are a bit peckish. The whole game has been built for optional co-op, with emphasis on the optional. Diving into a buddy's game couldn't be easier, but you can also play the whole thing solo without missing out on a single thing. You know, other than the joy of real human contact, but who needs that, am I right? The Blood of Dawnwalker is an action RPG that lets you play as a cool half-vampire with a sword. So I was already sold, but it also features some really novel game mechanics that promise to make it a bit different from anything else that you'll play this year. For one thing, it leans right into the half-vampire aspect by using a day and night cycle, so you have to wait until the sun goes down before you can walk up walls, teleport, and take a big old bite out of your enemies. So now you're thinking, that's fine, I'll just do all the important stuff at night. But the Blood of Dawnwalker also uses time as a resource, where there are only so many hours in each day, with different quests taking up different amounts, and some pretty dire consequences if you don't spend your time wisely. Let's round things off with Valor Mortis. Created by the folks behind the Ghost Runner series, this first-person Souls-like has players taking control of an undead soldier in Napoleon's resurrected army. Be honest, at least 3 words in that sentence caught you off guard, right? Using a cutlass, a flintlock pistol, and some magical shenanigans, players will battle their way through hordes of hideous monsters as they try to figure out just what the heck is actually going on here, how they keep coming back to life, and what that little French guy in the big hat has to do with it. To hear more about all these games and so many more, make sure you subscribe before you go. Will you be heading over to the dark sci-fi world of Tau Ceti 4 when Marathon arrives on March 5th? Between the fast-paced PvPvE combat, the tense and tenuous co-op, the hugely moddable classes, and the wide range of ways to play, it is sounding like a pretty tempting option. Who knows? You might even see me there. Although, not if I see you first.
Rated T for teens.